Sometimes when God tells you to move on, it feels like the ground beneath your feet is being pulled away. You pray, you fight, you pour yourself into something or someone, only to find that the door you thought would lead to blessing has been shut in your face. And in those moments, the temptation is strong to question God's motives. We think, why would he take this away? Why would he let something I wanted so deeply slip through my hands? But here's the truth. God does not close doors to punish you. He closes them to protect you. He is not trying to hurt you. He is safeguarding your destiny. Think about it. If you could see the end from the beginning the way God does, if you could see the hidden motives of people, the unseen consequences of your decisions, the spiritual dangers lying ahead, you would thank him for every door he slammed shut. You would rejoice over the relationships that ended, the jobs you didn't get, the places you couldn't stay. But because we only see today, we often misinterpret God's no as rejection, when in reality it is redirection. God is saying, I know this feels painful now, but I am saving you from something that would harm you down the road. I'm sparing you from heartbreak, disappointment, or even destruction. Trust me. One of the hardest things to accept is that some people, no matter how much you love them, are not meant to walk with you forever. Some opportunities, no matter how promising they look on the surface, are not aligned with the purpose God designed for your life. And the longer you cling to something that God has already released, the more frustrated, bitter, and stagnant you will become. It's like holding on to a branch that has already snapped. You're gripping tightly, hoping it will hold, but the truth is, it cannot support your weight, and until you let go, you cannot grab hold of the new branch God has placed within reach. When you understand that God's closed doors are not punishments, but protections, your perspective shifts. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, Lord, what are you making room for? You start to see loss not as an end, but as a transition. Because sometimes, the thing you call loss, God calls deliverance. The very relationship you begged him to save may have been the very thing keeping you from walking in peace. The very opportunity you thought would elevate you may have been designed to drain you. God's vision is larger than your immediate desire, and his protection often comes disguised as disappointment. Look at Scripture. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, a betrayal that could have crushed him. Yet in time, Joseph saw that what others meant for evil, God meant for good. He realized that God allowed those doors to close, so he could position him to save an entire nation. Or consider Paul, who prayed 3 times for his thorn in the flesh to be removed, but God said no. Not because he enjoyed watching Paul suffer, but because his strength would be perfected in Paul's weakness. In both cases, God's no was an act of love. His refusal was not rejection, it was preparation. That's how God works in your life too. When he says move on, he is not diminishing your worth. He is affirming your calling. He is saying, this place, this person, this opportunity, it served a purpose for a season, but now I need you free to step into what I have next. The pain you feel is not the pain of abandonment, it's the pain of growth. Just as a child outgrows their shoes, you are outgrowing certain environments, certain mindsets, certain attachments, and if you try to force yourself into what no longer fits, you will damage yourself in the process. So instead of resisting the closed doors, embrace them as divine protection. Instead of mourning what didn't work out, thank God for shielding you from what you cannot see. You may not understand it today, but one day you will look back and realize that what you thought was rejection was really God saving you from a greater heartbreak. His no today makes way for a bigger yes tomorrow. The truth is, God never closes one chapter without preparing the next. And if he is telling you to move on, it means there is something ahead that is worth more than anything you're leaving behind. Your destiny is too important, your purpose too valuable, for him to allow you to remain where you do not belong. So take courage. Stop fighting to reopen what God has closed. Stop clinging to what he has already asked you to release. Trust that the author of your life knows the plot better than you do. His protection may feel like loss, but in time you will see it for what it really is, a gift of grace. God's closed doors are never meant to break you. They are meant to build you, shield you, and redirect you toward what he designed you for all along. And when you learn to accept them with faith instead of fear, you discover a peace that no disappointment can take away. So remember this: if God has said, move on, it's not because He wants less for you, it's because He wants more. Let go of what was, so you can step boldly into what will be. That is where freedom is found. That is where destiny unfolds. That is where God's best for you begins. When God tells you to move on, it's not just about closing a chapter, it's about making room for transformation. And one of the most profound truths we need to grasp is that moving on is rarely about the other person, the situation, or even the thing we left behind. It is about what God is trying to do inside of us. Sometimes we imagine that if the external circumstances would just change, then everything in our lives would improve. But God is not nearly as concerned with the external as He is with the internal. He knows that unless your heart changes, unless your thinking shifts, unless your spirit grows stronger, you will carry the same struggles, the same pain, and the same cycles into the next season of your life. That's why moving on is not just relocation, it's transformation. When God says move on, He's not just trying to remove you from something, He's trying to reshape you into someone. And if you misunderstand that, you will resist the process. You'll try to run into the new while holding on to the old. You'll ask God for a new season, but refuse to let go of old mindsets. But God is too wise to let you repeat cycles that kept you bound. He'll strip away the things you're leaning on, so you'll lean fully on Him. Think about Israel in the wilderness. They had been delivered from slavery, but slavery still lived in their minds. God could have taken them to the promised land in a matter of days, but He knew they weren't ready. They had to be reshaped, trained and transformed before they could inherit what was already theirs. That's what happens when God tells us to move on. He's not simply uprooting us, He's preparing us. He's saying, the land I have for you requires a different version of you than the one standing here today. And that means moving on can feel like loss, but in reality it's preparation. It can feel like God is stripping something away, when in fact He is stretching you, enlarging your capacity, deepening your character. You can't take bitterness into the next season. You can't drag resentment, unforgiveness, or insecurity with you if you want to walk in the fullness of what God has prepared. So He allows certain things to fall away, not because He's punishing you, but because He's pruning you. And pruning is not pleasant. It cuts, it hurts, it removes what looks alive. But it is the very thing that makes growth possible. When we refuse to move on, we essentially resist growth. We cling to familiarity because it feels safe, even when it's destroying us. We tell ourselves that comfort is better than change, but God knows that growth never happens in comfort. Transformation requires discomfort. It requires the courage to release what we know in order to embrace what we don't yet see. And that's why so many people stay stuck. They confuse safety with destiny. Just because something feels safe doesn't mean it's God's will. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's fruitful. Sometimes the greatest enemy of your destiny is not failure, it's comfort. Moving on is God's way of breaking the power of comfort over your life, so He can unlock your calling. He won't allow you to stay in Egypt when He's designed you for Canaan. He won't let you settle for surviving when He's called you to thrive. But here's the catch. Transformation doesn't happen automatically. It happens when you choose to align with what God is doing. You can fight Him and stay stuck, or you can surrender and be reshaped. That's why the command to move on is never just a loss, it's an invitation. It's God saying, trust me with this transition. Allow me to refine your character, to heal your wounds, to sharpen your vision, so that when you step into what I've prepared, you'll be ready to sustain it. Moving on is not just about where you're going, it's about who you are becoming on the journey. So don't despise the discomfort. Don't resent the pruning. Don't mourn so long over what's behind you that you miss the opportunity for what's ahead. God is not trying to hurt you, He is trying to grow you. And every time He says move on, He is offering you the chance to become the person you were always created to be. Here's the truth to take with you. Moving on is not just leaving something behind, it's stepping into transformation. And transformation is the key to destiny. If God is saying, move on, it's because He's preparing you for more than you can imagine. Don't resist it, embrace it, because what He's building in you now will be the foundation for everything He's about to release in your future.